Hey everybody, this is TotalGamerJunkie. I want to welcome you all back to my channel. So, I want to talk about this interesting theory I found a few days ago, and I've been busy so I didn't have time to do it, but for the life of me, I can't find out where on Reddit it was posted, but I remember it quite vividly, and it got me thinking about what this could mean for the Life is Strange series and the game Life is Strange 2. So, if any of you remember in the Cold Dawn trailer, there's a specific scene where Max is on the phone and she hears something. This is after Sophie's death, and she's shocked and she ends up dropping the phone. Now, if you look closely at the phone, you'll see that the name that pops up is Maria. Now, this isn't the first time the name Maria has popped up. I mentioned in a previous video, it was on Reddit as well, that in the 18-minute gameplay, right before Sophie leaves the roof, if you take a look at her phone and enhance it, you'll see that the name that pops up on her phone is Maria. So whoever Maria is going to play, at least in my opinion, a big part in the story. Whether or not she's the killer or she's an accomplice to the killer, I don't know, but when I find out who this person is, I'm going to be keeping an eye out, because I may be wrong with this theory, but I still want to point it out. Now, there's not much going for this theory, except that the name, there's another character in Life is Strange called Maria, and it is this woman right here. Now, for those of you who are confused as to who this person is, her full name is Maria Elena Flores, and she's part of the FBI, and she's the person that we all meet in episode 4. And she's at the very end of episode 5, and depending on our choices, she can either live or die, as there's 4 endings. Well, I mean, if you want to get technical, there's 7, but though a few of those endings have slightly different variants, so technically it's 4 endings. Now, in the ending called Redemption, this is basically Sean gives up. He's like, okay, Daniel, I can't keep doing this, I want you to live a normal life, so he decides to take the fall for the officer's death and everything else that happened, and he gets sentenced to 15 years in prison before being released. And I believe at the end, he heads off to Puerto Lobos anyway, because there's nothing for him anymore. Like, I mean, yes, he's got Daniel, he's got his mom, and possibly what I think her name's Lila, if we talked to her in episode 1 and 2 and were on good terms. But no, he's got nothing, so he leaves to start a new life. And in this ending, Maria is alive. The other ending she's alive in is Parting Ways. And what's interesting about this ending is that it's the only ending where Maria sees Daniel use his powers and lives to tell about it. So in this ending, you have to meet the criteria for the surrender ending, where Daniel won't put up a fight and he'll agree with Sean that they have to give up. So if you meet that criteria, but you decide to ram the gate anyway, Sean will start driving the car, and Daniel will use his powers to throw the other cars out of the way and blast open the gate. And in the end, he sacrifices himself. He allows himself to be arrested. He breaks open his side of the car door and pops out. And Sean manages to cross the border, both alive and somewhat unharmed. And after Daniel is arrested, you see Flores she's in complete shock, like, what just happened? Because I've mentioned this before, there have been multiple times in this series where people have seen Daniel use powers, and yet this is something that hasn't really been addressed. Like, one of those key examples is the is the teaser trailer for when Life is Strange 2 came out, where it showed us, because we know that the cop shoots Sean, Daniel's dad, and that causes Daniel's powers to kick off. But when they first showed it off, they showed it from the cop's car camera. And what's funny about that, actually, if you look it up right now, because I checked this a few days ago, if you look it up now, that teaser trailer for Life is Strange 2, it's the #1 most viewed on the Life is Strange channel, which I find absolutely hilarious, considering this game is considered the weakest entry by some people. I'm not going to say it's a bad game, it's a good game, but it has its moments, but it is the weakest. So if the Maria that Sophie's talking to on the phone and the one that Max is talking onto the phone is the Maria from the FBI, then that means that 2 of the 4 endings for Life is Strange 2 are not canon. They don't count. So Lone Wolf, that's the one where Sean decides to give up after everything they go through, and Daniel's like, no, screw that, we're crossing the border, and he uses his power to get him across, but Sean dies, he gets shot in the neck. It's real tragic, and I think we can all agree, if you played the game, that's the worst ending of the game. Like, I know you try not to say there's good and bad endings, but I think Life is Strange 2 makes that exception. It's a horrible ending, Daniel's left all alone, he's got to fend for himself. Now, Blood Brothers is where they both, but in Lone Wolf as well, that's where Maria dies too. And she also dies in Blood Brothers, and that's like one of my favorite scenes in the game. It's, nothing's getting in my way. Sean and I, we're crossing the border, and we're killing anyone that gets in our way. Daniel and I, sorry. And so Daniel uses his powers, and he wreaks absolute havoc. And it's my favorite ending too, and you get this beautiful scene where the 2 of them, they open an auto shop because Sean was taught by his dad. And there's this scene where they're outside, they're sitting on chairs, and it's sunset, the music's playing, it's really great, and they made it. So it's pretty good, but if she is alive, then that means we have only 2 endings that are considered canon. Now, what does this have to do with Max? Okay, let's say the first ending, Redemption, is canon. Sean and Daniel surrender themselves, and Maria doesn't see Daniel use his powers. So, that's it. Okay, there's nothing really to talk about. But what if the Parting Ways ending is canon, where Daniel sacrificed himself so Sean can get across the border, and she sees someone with a kid use powers, something out of a comic book, out of a superhero movie, which is just not possible. And so if she decides to, hypothetically, she tells her superiors, they don't believe her, but she has the other officers with her to back her up. It's like, this did happen, this is what's going on. Like, I don't know how it happened, I don't know why it happened, but what I'm telling you is the truth. This kid has powers. And if I assume they would have security footage in their cop cars, they would show that as proof. And what if the FBI starts looking for people with powers? For what reason? I don't know. Maybe to keep an eye on them, because we see here in this ending, Daniel's under house arrest. He's got ankle monitor on. So what if, let's say Sacrifice Arcadia Bay is canon? What if they go back and look into that and think, okay, this wasn't just some natural disaster, we think someone with powers was responsible for this. And then the events of Double Exposure happen with the 2 moons and everything's happening again. And so this could be Maria deciding to check up on what's happening, because think about it. If she's looking into people with superpowers, she would check for the people that survived Arcadia Bay. We know that Max, Chloe, David, Jefferson, Victoria, Officer Berry, and there was another officer who survived. So that's 7 survivors in total. I don't know how many survived Arcadia Bay, but I do think that the population was significantly cut down, at least like 95%. So if Sacrifice Arcadia Bay is canon, it would be interesting to see if this woman is using Sophie, and she's trying to keep tabs on Max, who she suspects may or may not have powers, as she's one of the survivors. Now, this theory itself does have a few issues. For starters, you'd have to make not only the Parting Ways ending canon of Life is Strange 2, which I think most people wouldn't care about, but you'd have to make Sacrifice Arcadia Bay canon, which would be a big mistake. Like, the developers have already told us that no ending is canon, so, because as much as we love Life is Strange, with Life is Strange 2, a lot of us can be like, oh, okay, if you want to make one ending canon to help serve the narrative, okay. Now, it could also just be something as simple as, okay, but maybe she knows the detective that's investigating Max. Maybe maybe he's telling her, okay, this is what happened, and Max is talking to her on the phone. So that it could just be as simple as that. The two of them are working together because they think Max is guilty, which is completely understandable given how it's an impossible murder, no gun, no footprints, nothing. I can see how they view Max as the prime suspect. But ultimately, that's it. It would be very interesting. I remember, what was his name? He wrote. I don't know if he's still writing fanfics. Wicterline. He's this guy that writes this Life is Strange fanfics. You should really check them out. They're great. If I find them, I'll leave them in the description below. But they're pretty cool. But anyways, that's really the end of this video. Hope you all enjoyed it, and do let me know what you think in the comments section. Do you think this is a crazy theory? I'm pulling out my ass here. Or do you think there's some truth to it? Or could it just be as simple as, okay, Maria's working with the detective on Sophie's murder. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. This is TotalGamerJunkie, signing off.